Elvira. Since today, officially, I work 12 years for the shipping company. So I have a little bit of a celebration today. It's good to see you all. And well, if you have questions, ask them. Stewart.
Hello, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you all again this evening. Oh, sorry, you're this evening, my morning. I'm actually calling from Australia at the moment. I'm the project leader of Darwin200, and as Matthias very kindly mentioned, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the send-off party, which we really hope you can attend. Obviously, it's approaching 2 months until we go. It's not long at all now, and so we really hope to see you shortly at the send-off party, and also an overview of Fernando de Noronha. So that's my part this evening.
And then Gerben.
Okay, good evening. My name is Gerben. I'm the one of the captains, but I'm managing director of the shipping company. I will give you a short overview of what we've been doing to prepare the ship for the voyage. As Stu mentioned, it's only 2 months to go. That means things come to an end now, and well, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And of course, I'm here to answer questions on the practical side of the voyage. You all will be joining us. Maybe the last time you forgot to ask a question, well, you can do it today. Maybe there is something special you want to ask, or maybe, well, anyway, anything, just ask me, I will answer.
All right, and with that said, with the introduction of the crew and well, Stewart, but many of you will know him. I would like to ask Stewart what kind of exciting plans we have in Plymouth to wave the ship. Safe place.
I'll just quickly share my screen, hopefully. Oh, I think we might just need to enable that. Sorry.
Let me see how I do this. Should be able to.
I think it might be down at the bottom. You've got to go multiple.
Of course.
Participants.
Yeah.
Well done. Okie dokie. All righty. So let me know when that's coming through. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Okay. All righty. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. My first little talk tonight is about the send-off party. So obviously, as you all are well aware, for the last 18 months, we've been obviously working very, very hard to organise the Darwin200 global voyage, the 32 legs this voyage. The first one, as you know, starts in Plymouth in England. The reason why it starts in Plymouth in England is because that's where Charles Darwin set off from. It's a perfect place. But just to be crystal clear, the send-off party that we're going to be talking about tonight is open to everyone. It's not just those open to those on leg one. All of you are very, very warmly welcome to come to the send-off party. Please bring your family, your friends, your spouses, anyone that you'd like. It's a really amazing opportunity to see the ship, even if you're coming on a later leg, and obviously meet everyone, and you'll probably bump into some of your fellow sailors. So as you know, the ship departs Plymouth on the 14th of August. It's incredible how close that's suddenly become. So we've planned the send-off party on the night before, so the 13th of August, which is a Sunday. Plymouth, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, it's a small city in England. It's on the south coast in Devon, right down there at the bottom. So if you can see right down there, that's the location of Plymouth. It's a very, very historic city with very big maritime connections. This was actually the place in 1620 where the Pilgrim Fathers set out for the New World and set up the Plymouth colony in North America, in what's now the US. So it obviously has an immensely long, all the way back from pre-Roman times. It was a very important port. It's a really nice place for the voyage to take part in, and it's a really beautiful little city. So hopefully you'll enjoy visiting there. Well, we're really fortunate that the ship is going to be located in Sutton Harbour, which is the really beautiful historic quarter of Plymouth. Plymouth was quite heavily bombed in the war, so outside the centre, most of the buildings are quite new. Yeah, there's a lot of redevelopment after the war, after the Second World War. But the inner heart of it, the Sutton Harbour, is beautiful, and it basically hasn't changed much since Charles Darwin was there. So the ship is going to be located along Quay Road, which is on the west coast, west of Sutton Harbour. Then we have the event in the National Maritime Museum, National Maritime Aquarium, which is just on the other side of the harbour. If you look down there, there's a bridge that gives really easy access across. I literally did this multiple times on Friday. It's literally a 4-minute walk from where the ship is to the aquarium, and it's a beautiful harbour. So I hope you'll really enjoy it. This is where the ship will basically be, along this section here, which is Quay Road, where those fishing boats are, probably somewhere along there. That's exactly where we took Pelican of London in on the UK Best Voyages. But the event, as I say, will be on the other side of the harbour in this spectacular building called the National Marine Aquarium. It's actually the biggest aquarium in the UK, and it's a perfect venue for our send-off event. So very quickly, this is the plan and the agenda. So we warmly welcome all of you, everyone, your friends, your family, you'd like to bring at 6 p.m. Arrive at the aquarium from 6 till 7, any time within that hour. They've got a really lovely exhibition room. We've organised drinks on arrival, I think champagne, hopefully, for everyone when they arrive, and canapes covering 4 different dietary requirements: carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free. And for the rest of the evening, you can purchase drinks at the bar if you want more drinks throughout it. We've actually got free access to the museum as well. This is one of the main rooms where we can congregate when people arrive, and there's some really amazing exhibits showing the marine life of Plymouth Sound and this area along the coast of England. And out here we've also got a large function room as well, with beautiful views over the harbour. Then from 7 till 8, we go into a nice exhibition room, and we've got a series of talks basically setting up the voyage. So obviously this is the night before we start. It'll be quite an exciting time. I'll give a quick overview from the project's perspective. Obviously the wonderful Gerben will do likewise. The National Maritime Aquarium team want to wish us well and talk very, very briefly about some really exciting research projects that they've very kindly helped make possible during the global voyage. And then last but not least, just in case it's of interest, we've got a short overview of Charles Darwin's perspective on the night before he left. There's a really amazing story about how he felt. I don't want to spoil it, but basically he had heart palpitations. He was so excited and thought he might have a heart attack. He was so excited to go, he didn't even tell his doctor because he was worried the doctor would ban him from going. Anyway, there's a whole much bigger story all about Darwin's last night before he set sail. So we'll do that on the night before we set sail. This is where those presentations will take place. It's a really beautiful exhibition room, and a screen comes down at the front. And say we can explore the aquarium if you want to after the event as well. They're a really lovely team, and they're happy to give people guided tours and tours around the aquarium if you'd like to. And basically, after the presentations from 8 till 10, we can mingle, we can chat. It is England, so good weather is not guaranteed. If there is good weather, we can go outside. They've got a beautiful maritime garden overlooking Plymouth Sound. If weather isn't good, then we can go inside back into the same rooms. I was just down there on Friday, and it was unbelievably beautiful. It felt like Spain. It was so hot. So hopefully we'll be lucky and have good weather. Obviously, we're setting sail the next morning, so it's probably a good plan not to be too late and not too much alcohol the night before. But anyone that wants to, this is where we meet outside if the weather's good. And if anyone wants to, then there's some absolutely gorgeous pubs exactly opposite where the ship will be. Got to have a little explore of them and see Old Town Plymouth and what it will look like, what it absolutely looked like in Charles Darwin's time, then you can do so. These are all old converted wharf buildings, and definitely would have been, many of them would have absolutely been there in the 19th century. So it's quite exciting to see. And Plymouth really has some of the best British pubs, I think, anywhere in the UK. It's really lovely. That's pretty nice to explore. Okay, so just to be clear, I'm going to finalize a PDF outlining all of this as a formal invite PDF. So you have all information in a simple document that we'll send round. The event is completely free to attend. We're covering all costs. We recommend you consider having dinner before the event. like an early dinner at 5 or something like that, because the event's only got light finger food, like canapes. There's loads of restaurants all around Sutton Harbour. There's fish and chip shops, there's pub food, there's gourmet restaurants, there's high cuisine, whatever you want, there's all there. But we recommend maybe doing it before the event, so it'll get a bit late afterwards. The upper limit of the event is capped. So we kindly invite everyone that wants to come to reserve a place. Again, it's free, there's no cost at all. But just so we can roughly keep a tabs on numbers, if you can kindly reserve, it's just darwin200.com/send-off-party with hyphens between those words. Again, we'll put it all in the PDF, we'll send it around, everyone will have it. And again, to really emphasize, you're all welcome. It's not just people on leg one. Everyone can attend. Bring your friends, bring your families, bring your companions. But yeah, if you can just register, we'll guarantee the people that register. But once it gets to the upper limit, then we have to close the doors. So if you want to come, and we really hope you will, because it'll be really exciting and a lovely event, then just please register. Again, totally free to do so. Really quickly, just to explain, there are trains to get down to Plymouth. It is a bit of a mission. It's right the way down in Devon, in the southwest of England, and yeah, it is a bit of a mission to get there. There are trains to get down from London. It's about 3 hours from London, Paddington. So anyone coming from Europe, you can either, continental Europe, you can either fly across to London or get the amazing Eurostar, the train, which personally I love, and get right into London, then just cross over to Paddington, London, Paddington, and there's 3-hour trains straight down. They're fast trains right the way down to Plymouth. From other parts of the UK, it's a little bit trickier. I've got to be honest, the connections aren't as good as from London. But yeah, most of you, I think, will be coming from, into the UK via London anyway. So that's a really good way to get down there. Okay, the last point, just really quickly wanted to mention were hotels. This is high season in Plymouth. So if you do want to stay a night before or after or whatever, really recommend you book hotels in advance. I'll also put in the itinerary, in the little PDF, some suggestions if you want to arrive a day or two early. There's so much to see in Devon and Cornwall. They are beautiful places. And there's some lovely islands called the Isles of Scilly that's like a secret that no one knows about. They're unbelievable blue waters and white sand beaches. It looks like Spain, not grey, rainy Britain. So if you've got a few days, we really recommend you go there. They're beautiful. Okay, my last slides, again, just to get you in the mood and get you excited, is just to paint the picture of Darwin. So the Beagle was anchored in Barn Pool, which you'll absolutely see. You'll see the exact place where the Beagle was anchored. We really recommend either before the event or very early the next morning, but ideally before the event, take a little walk along the beautiful historic waterfront of Plymouth and find this plaque and just reflect on it. It's opposite the location where the ship HMS Beagle was located. It set sail actually on the 27th of December, 1831, which obviously marked the start of Darwin's journey. So just to be clear, Sutton Harbour's over here. Barn Pool is just opposite King's Island, opposite Devil's Point, which is that bit in red. It's a short couple of kilometres walk, or you could get a taxi if you don't want to walk. But it's a really lovely place to go and think and reflect. That's the location there. I have to say, Darwin hated Plymouth. So he described it as the most miserable city he ever spent time in. And later he spoke of that horrible city. I have to say, I hope you'll disagree with Darwin. He can't be right on everything. I think it's a beautiful place. So we hope you'll enjoy the send-off party and not agree with Darwin. Anyway, just my last point. So the Beagle, they actually were planning to leave on Christmas Day. They got very drunk. The sailors got very drunk on Christmas Day, and Captain Fitzroy then couldn't actually haul anchor until the 27th. So I suggest we don't repeat that mistake. We've got to stay on schedule. So maybe just have 1 or 2 drinks that night, not get hungover like the crew of the Beagle. So a big thank you, and we really hope to see you there on the night of August the 13th to join our send-off party. Again, I'll send around an itinerary PDF with all the details in it. To really emphasize the point, so if you can, please kindly, if you want to come, just reserve a place. It's free. but just so we know roughly how many people are coming, because if we have 10 times more than we can take capacity for, we'll have to work out another arrangement. But if you can kindly reserve, that'd be amazing. So big thank you. I'll pass you back to Matthias. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stu. Well, me personally, I'm really looking forward to it. Well, now we will assist Stewart for the scientific part of the project, as is the shipping company for preparing the ship properly. Perhaps both Gerben and Elvira could say something about how we are preparing, in what stage we are with preparing the ship, but also about what we are doing now, because we have quite some exciting weeks ahead of us with all those festivals we will attend. So I think that would be nice to share with everyone as well. Perhaps Gerben could start.
Well, I wanted to say the same to Elvira, but Stu just said it's only 2 months to go. And actually in his presentation, we're talking about a send-off party. We're talking about having a canapé and a drink just the night before the big day. I mean, it's getting really, really close now, which is nice, which is exciting, and which is something we have looked forward to the past 1.5 to 2 years, but which is actually getting there faster and faster. If you speak about preparations, there is so many things. If I concentrate on the technical side of it, let's say, what does a ship need if you send her over the world for 2 years? I mean, it is very difficult to think of all the things that may go wrong, or all the spares that you may want to have, because you are quite sure you can never find them in Chile or in the Galapagos or on Cocos Island or wherever you're going. It is all these things that you have to think of. Then if you have thought of all these things and you look in your head to the big pile of stuff that you want to bring, then you say, okay, this is not possible. I need another ship for that. So then you have to cut it down and bring it to a proportion that you can handle, let's say, and then you say, okay, that means that we may need to work on logistics as well, that if we do need something here, we may need to send it somewhere. So you have to think, what will be a good hub to send stuff? Will we be there in time? Do we have time enough if a sending isn't there in time to wait for it? Stuff like this. So the preparations for a voyage like this is actually going from one side to the other side and back again. And that makes it quite nice to do, but it also makes it quite, how do you say?
Challenging.
Unsure. Huh? Sorry?
Challenging.
Well, yeah, that too. It's you never know. You prepare for something you don't know, and you only know afterwards if you have prepared well. From the technical side, I started already 2 years ago, even very shortly after the first discussions with Stu. I thought the event was nice, and I already thought, okay, if we want to do this in 2 years, then I need to address some technical issues on the ship. These things can only be addressed, let's say, on the shipyard. We normally go in a dry dock once a year. That means I have to do it this year, which is in 2 months' time. So I have to prepare this and that and that. And then the next year, which was last year, of course, we went in dry dock again, and I have to do the last things that I wanted to do. Otherwise, I couldn't complete them before departure. And that is also, let's say, a puzzle you start with things you need. For example, sails. How long do they actually last? You look at your papers and see, okay, this sail is lasting 5 years, the other one 7, the other one only 4. What happened? Did it tear apart in the storm? But one thing you know for sure, if I order one sail for Oosterschelde, its delivery time is about 3 months. So if I need to have some spare sails, I have to order them well in advance. But then again, they're quite big, they're quite heavy. So all these things are coming together now. And let's say the not so nice part of all these preparations is that the simple things, they come together quickly. I have, for example, 1 year ago, I ordered some stuff. and it's arriving now. But all the things that are left over are the people that don't do what they have promised you. That are the sales that have been that should have been ready but are not ready. That are the problems that come in between. And so the last month of July, actually, before departure here from Rotterdam, we're leaving Rotterdam on the 4th of August, which is, let's say, the soft opening of our world voyage. The real one will be in Plymouth, but for us, it's leaving Rotterdam. So everything which is not on board won't come on board anymore at all. The last month will be extremely busy. So I warn everybody who wants to speak to me, do it now, do it tomorrow. Don't try to do it in July, because I'm quite sure I don't have time. Having said that, at the moment, it's going quite all right. The ship is doing fine. We're still sailing. We're still in business. We still have a very busy program until the beginning of July. In the month of July, we will go in dry dock. Last time before we set sail to Plymouth, we have a yearly renewal of all kind of certification, all kind of stuff that needs to be looked at. It will be looked at, and then we get a renewal of the certification of it. We also are doing some things that are specifically for this voyage. For example, one of the tables in our saloon will be removed. In that corner, we will install a little a desk, some place to sit in all kind of weather. There'll be weather-tight seating for our little how do you say, scientific experiments. There will be microscopes. There will be room for computers, maybe some video editing. This will be the working space on the ship. It is nice also for the guests that sail with us, because it's a designated corner of the ship. The things that all have to do with the Darwin200 will be happening there. People can go there, people can look at it, people can ask questions to the people working there. It's like a dedicated working space in the ship. And in my personal how do you say, idea of such a voyage, if you look at the 19th century science, it was a very I would say romantic kind of science. People like Darwin, scientific experiments in those days. I mean, maybe it was not so nice for the animals, but if you look at nature, you would take all these animals and put them in alcohol, or you stuff them, or you send them home, or you make a drawing of them, and these places, they were like cabinets. If I always like them. In old musea, you have them. You have a little jar with something strange in it, and you have some soil from a strange place on Earth, and there you see a rocky thing which seems to come from the moon. And all these little artifacts, they have a little story. And what I imagine is that our ship will be slowly turning into such a 19th century ship again during the 2 years to follow. But in the beginning, it will be empty. It will be there. Other things that I do specifically for this world voyage is we, as we are doing something to let's say awaken people, to tell people that it is important to see what is happening with this Earth. In the time since Darwin was there, and that we are there, many things will have been changed. Stewart just said, well, Plymouth is still the same, but actually, if you take some samples from the water, from the air, it will be changed. And these changes, they go quite rapidly. And we have a little mission there, and we hope this little mission will grow gradually and will be a big mission and will be well, spreading around the world. We can't predict that, but that's our aim. What we can do ourselves is to try to make the ship a little bit greener and make the people aware of things. So I don't like, I mean, a sailing ship is not necessarily green. It's not necessarily good for nature or environment. Of course, it's easy to say, we sail with the wind, but of course we use fuel for our generators. Of course, we all eat, and we all. So what we need to do is having a sort of a personal moral compass, and I do have that also on board. So what we will do is when we buy stuff to clean the ship, it should all be the best stuff you can have, biological, how you say, Elvira?
Ecological.
Yeah,
Ecological friendly.
yeah, stuff
If
like
we
that.
can get it, if we're halfway around the world.
Yeah, but we can get it here in Rotterdam. So when we
Yeah.
leave it, it will be there. Other things we do to make the ship as green as possible is we gain back the, let's say, the heat from generating power. We gain back for heating up our drinking water, the boilers for taking shower, stuff like this. I'm also working on, that's a big project for July, but I will do it. We are installing some special modern batteries in the ship. The technology about battery power is getting better and better. It's going quite rapidly nowadays. So we will install them. That hopefully will help us to reduce the use of generators as much as possible to have the maximum benefit from what we produce. Stuff like that. So it is. In a nutshell, it sounds easy. It is technically quite challenging to do that all on the ship because it's all, well, you need to fulfill many rules to install things of the ships, and everything has to be tested and checked and certified. And next to all that, we will have, of course, the preparations with the crew. We get new crew members. We need to have people in kind of a backup system. We also will have some unexpected challenges. For example, now I'm just telling you about the month of July, but I just decided last week to replace the bowsprit, which is a major thing. This bowsprit is a huge tree, a really huge tree, and then still we have to find another one. Big enough, heavy enough, good enough. We have to shape it. We have to put it there. We have to exchange it. All the stuff it's a major job, and it's just something that I didn't plan. But I think it's wise to do it now because we are not quite sure of the. That's the problem with wood as a material. You get cracks, you get things, you get. And it's all fine as long as it's fine. But if something starts to how you say, if you get some fungi, if you get something, then it may go quickly, and it's very hard to judge. So I have chosen to try and make a new one and install it, but it will be also hundreds of hours of work extra in the month of July. That is part of the let's say technical preparation. Next to that, we have, of course, all the charts and pilots and stuff that we want to bring for the first part of the voyage. We don't bring everything. It would be too much. Some of it will be sent over or purchased somewhere else. But for the first, let's say, 6-7 months, we want to take it all. And then not least, that is the enormous amount of food and stuff you need just to live there with so many people on board the ship. It sounds easy to buy it somewhere else, but it isn't always. Even on Cape Verde, which is not that far away, many things that you can buy here, you just can't buy it, let alone in Fernando de Noronha, or perhaps you can buy it in Rio, but you don't know where, and you don't know the name, and the people that you talk to, they don't know the name either. So we try to prepare, we try to bring everything, and I'm quite sure that the ship will be very heavily loaded by the time she arrives in Plymouth, but I'm also quite sure that we will make it in time and that she will be ready for it. So that in a nutshell. Elvira?
Ooh, what do I have to add? It was a long list already.
Well, maybe you can tell a little bit about what we're doing now until July.
Yeah, I think what in the office it's a bit strange because we're preparing, but we're also dealing with everything that happens at the moment. So at the moment, the ship is in France attending a large festival for the first time. So there's a lot of questions coming from the ship. Okay, how does this work? Can you bring me into contact with that person? And in after France, the ship will be in Scheveningen, so in the Netherlands, which is a chance to, I don't know, get already stuff to the ship or get stuff organized as well. So it's a bit of playing onto I don't know, onto chess chess boards, I think. Don't know what it's a Dutch expression, I think. The crew schedule is ready for the whole voyage, but as Gerben said, there will be changes in there. We have some old people that have worked for us over the years returning because they know the ship and they can be very helpful during maintenance periods. So that is really nice because it will be a sort of a reunion on board during the long voyage. And we are also talking to the crew. Okay, usually we take this amount of coffee with us. Is that enough? Or would it be better to, I don't know, take a little bit less toilet paper with us so we can bring more coffee and that kind of stuff to find out how we can optimize the space and what we buy. So I think that is mainly what we're busy with at the moment. I don't know. Did I forget anything? Probably. And of course, our send-off party in Rotterdam, because we can't leave the Netherlands as a Dutch ship without a proper goodbye there. So that's also for all the people that can't come to Plymouth. We want to send off the ship in a good way as well. So also busy planning that. Invitations will follow, of course, for that as well.
Thank you, Gerben and Elvira. All right, during Gerben's short overview, Rolf joined the group. Perhaps you, well, I don't know if everyone already knows you, but perhaps you could introduce yourself and, well, give a short overview about projects in the Canary Islands and on Cabo Verde before we go to Stewart for Fernando de Noronha entrance requirements.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. I'm very happy to do so. I'm not sure, Elvira, did you finish or you were awaiting questions? Or, well, maybe we can use the chat for the questions. So I'm very happy to be here again. I'm not sure if I saw you everybody last time I was here. Since April, I'm involved in the project as science coordinator. That means me and Stewart and also our colleague Eduardo are preparing for the Darwin Leader program. As you know, we want to invite 200 young promising leaders to join us in the different ports to do research and to do projects with local NGOs on environmental issues. Of course, relating to Darwin and to species that we want to save or want to help protect. So we're preparing imports right now with the local organizations. We are engaging with them, and I would like to show you a little bit of work we've done in Tenerife, the first stop, and also Cape Verde. That's the second one, of course, as you know, before we head to Brazil. So we are in the status is that we are engaging with them. So what you will see is ongoing work. I prepared a little presentation. I am allowed, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, share.
Yeah.
You see a ship, I think, here. Yeah, you see it. Okay, thank you. So, of course, the first stop will be Tenerife. And as you might know, and I don't know if you are into researching Darwin, but he was very much looking forward to see Tenerife. I looked up a quote from a letter, and this was in April 1831, in which he states that you won't be I never will be easy till I see the peak of Tenerife and the great dragon tree, sandy, dazzling plains, and the gloomy, silent forest, alternately upmost in my mind. And this was way before he was invited by Captain Fitzroy to join actually the Beagle. So he was planning already to go to Tenerife, and he was very much interested in the geological history of the island, and he was puzzled by some reports how it could be that there was sea bet on mountain height. And so he was very much into Tenerife. He read about Humboldt, who predecessed him, of course, and he really wanted to get there. But what happened, as you might know, oh, what happens to my show? Okay, I can put it here. Unfortunately, well, he was asked by Captain Fitzroy to join, of course, and then his plan to see Tenerife came into play again. But what happened? They weren't allowed on the island, actually. So Fitzroy had to decide to sail to Cape Verde because there had been cholera in England, and there was a quarantine rule on the island of Tenerife. So unfortunately, Darwin, he was very sad. He couldn't make it on the island. So his first descriptions were from the sea, describing the peak of Tenerife. But of course, fortunately, we are going there, and we can imagine what Darwin would have loved to have seen. And that was our question actually to our NGO. So what happened is that Stewart and I went there. This was in April, and well, these are a few pictures, of course, of the island. A few of them taken by ourselves, and a few of them not yet taken by ourselves, because they're quite unique species that you see on the pictures. The man on the left upper corner is Jaime Coelho. He is one of the most important voices on the island on environmental issues. He runs I believe, the oldest NGO on protection of nature. The NGO was founded by his father. He was a geologist, one of the first in Tenerife. And Jaime was so kind to accept our invitation to be part of this project. And he is our central man in liaising with other parties as well to look into the best projects we can think of for our Darwin leaders. So to give you a short overview in pictures, you see, of course, this fantastic volcano Teide, which is the highest mountain of Spain, actually 3,712 meters high, I believe. So that's a high mountain with unique qualities and unique habitats. And of course, that will be one of the highlights, literally, of this journey. It's a spectacular landscape, but there are many issues around, and of course, many have to do with climate change. You see the top of the volcano without snow, and we've seen pictures that it used to be white even during summertime, but that has changed, and lots of things changed. So we're looking in that area. Of course, Tenerife is an island full of tourists, 6 million a year. That is a profound threat to quite a lot of habitats, and we will be looking into that as well. So you see a whale, you see the dragon tree, you see lizards, you see a endemic woodpecker, a bat. Also, you see volcanic garden, and you see a ship here, and a sort of piratey ship, which is not a real one. But they are looking at whales. So this picture says a lot. We have fast ferries threatening the whales, but also lots of tourists going there and disturbing them, actually. So Jaime showed us around the island also quite a lot of illegal development, tearing up habitats of and nature reserves, actually. So although large parts of the island are protected, there are quite some issues with maintaining that. So this is a visual overview. We wrote them down. We are actually now in the phase that we really want to define the project, and also match, of course, this to the expertise, but also the wishes of the Darwin leaders. So we're going to look in all those species and try to analyze what we can do to improve their situation. So we're trying to create 8 projects in Tenerife. So I think also for you, it will be great to well, to get into these subjects and to see for yourselves what you think of the island and what's going on actually in terms of protection of nature. So that's Tenerife. Then, of course, the next stop will be Cape Verde, and that was visited by me last 2 weeks. And there we are liaising with 2 wonderful NGOs. One is called Biosfera, and one is called Terimar, on the islands of São Vicente, where we will be with the ship, of course, at Mindelo, and one on the island just opposite of São Vicente, which is Santo Antão. You can see here on the right, or the left upper corner, that's a shot of one of the most incredible places I've seen, I think, which is the crater, one of the craters on the island. It's quite high, and this area, it's the greenest area of all Cape Verde. So this is quite a unique valley, Raoul Valley. You see us there with the crew of Terimar, exploring what kind of projects we can think of with Darwin leaders. So if you would be going to Cape Verde, this is my top my top recommendation. You should see this place. Also on the right corner here, you see me with people from Biosfera. Biosfera is very professional and quite an example of a great NGO doing all kinds of research on terrestrial areas, but also, of course, at sea. They're starting new projects, for instance, on sharks and rays. They have plenty of projects on turtles. I don't know if you see next to this green ship, you see actually one turtle swimming. We are trying to get involved in a new project, monitoring green turtles when they're fed by tourists, which is a new economic activity of the fishermen of São Vicente. Instead of hunting them and eating them, they see them now as, of course, also an economic factor, which is in a way good news, but it has to be done in the right way, I suppose. We're gonna look into that as with our Darwin leaders too. I can't see you, so I'm not sure if there are fingers or are there questions. Please write them down in the chat. I can read that later. So we are also trying to create 8 projects in Cape Verde that will be on 4 islands, 2 of them uninhabited, nature reserves. So that's going to be a fantastic experience for a Darwin leader to be on an island 3 or 4 days, maybe without streaming water and electricity, just doing the research and just getting into the NGO's work and try to learn and come up with innovations where we can. So it's going to be about marine turtles, seabirds. There's a very successful story on a reintroduction of the Russell lark, which was almost extinct because of course, invasive species like rats and cats on the islands. They were removed, and now it's a successful reintroduction. And they got prizes for that. We're going to look into that story and if it's applicable, of course, elsewhere. We're going to look into reptiles. And there's a lot of plastic pollution. Beaches are full of them. It's mainly fishing gear, but it, of course, disturbs the nesting of the turtles very much. So we need to work on that. We're going to look into endemic plants in the Raoul Valley, as I showed you. Shark and rays I mentioned, fishery I mentioned, and also the NGOs are very interested in new strategies to communicate and engage with their populations, how to engage with the population in the context of quite a poor country. 30–40% of Cape Verde is very poor still. So that has to be taken into account, of course, in conservation strategies too. So this is a short overview of the first stops and the projects we want to develop. And I wanted to show you also, because that's also happening right now, and we hope we are going to speed that up very much. But we are getting applications from Darwin leaders, and it might motivate you. It motivates me very much to read all those stories. For instance, Emmanuel writes us, and he's from Ghana, and he has been into nature protection all his life. But he states that he needs actually our project to become stronger and to build up his stronger profile internally. So he said he's well, getting sad sometimes because he has to fight, and there are not many people fighting for nature where he lives. So he needs support. And he thinks, and he of course hopes that being part of Darwin200 shows also people in Ghana that the whole world is caring actually, and well, we will help him being part of our program to become stronger in his area where he lives, in his country. So that motivates me. Where I think, okay, we do have a role to play, and we can make a difference for people like Emmanuel. So I'd like to conclude with that one. So I will stop my presentation.
Thank you so much.
And I will look into the chat if there are any questions, maybe.
Yeah, we will address all questions at the end. So I'll read every one of them, and then well, you can answer them, or Stu.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, then we come to the last non-question part of this Darwin Q&A, and that is an overview of the entrance requirements to Fernando de Noronha, something for which many, or at least a few sailors who will embark there or disembark there asked for. Stu has been there quite recently, so he knows all about it.
Alrighty. Well, I'll just share my screen. Hopefully that's coming across again. Sorry, 1 second, let's make PowerPoint. Sorry, where have you gone? Here you are. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. Sorry, here it is here. Coming through. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for that wonderful presentation, Rolf. It really is so inspiring working with all of the different Darwin leaders and setting up these projects. So just so everyone is aware, we're working around 6 months ahead of the ship. What we have learned is that it is essential to go to the ports to finalize the projects that we do. We've so far done Canary and Cape Verde. If you'd like, next month I can do the Brazilian ports, which is Fernando de Noronha, Salvador and Rio. We've also basically organized Montevideo, Puerto Wilton, Puerto Santa Cruz and the Falkland Islands. And we're now focusing on Punta Arenas and Valparaiso, and then the west coast of South America. So last time when we spoke a month ago, I was actually in Brazil, in Rio, about to start 3 weeks. So I went to Fernando de Noronha, Salvador and Rio de Janeiro, setting up the projects, just like what Rolf has very kindly done on Cape Verde. So in response to the questions we had concerning Fernando, here's a little overview. So to be clear, those that are on leg 3, as I'm sure you're aware, you're ending up in Fernando. And equally, those that are starting leg 4, you begin your journey in Fernando. So this really applies to people on leg 3 and leg 4. So firstly, there's really good flight connections from mainland Brazil. I think you have to go to Brazil. I don't think there's any other way to get to Fernando de Noronha. You can fly into Sao Paulo or Rio, and then there's multiple connecting flights each day. It was actually surprising how well connected the island was. Many of them go via Recife, but you can definitely connect from all the big cities, Brasilia, Sao Paulo and Salvador, via Recife to Fernando de Noronha. The flights are about $300-ish. They're not cheap. They're not, low. They're not cheap flights, but $300, $400, something like that at return. Fernando de Noronha is known as Brazil's treasure islands, and they really are a wildlife paradise. Like so many island archipelagos, they're a haven for marine life and also seabirds and terrestrial wildlife, with a lot of endemism, unique animals and plants that evolve on these islands in the absence of predators. So unlike continents, on these remote oceanic islands, you often get really interesting, really amazing animals and plants, because the same predators that occur on the continents don't exist there. For example, canines originally, or felines and so forth. And it's particularly well known for its seabirds. It has some really big seabird colonies with boobies and terns and noddies, and it has one of the world's biggest spinner dolphin projects. So next month, if you'd like me to, I could do a lovely talk on all of these subjects if you would like to hear about them. But the focus today is about the logistics. So as I say, I really recommend you book flights as far as in advance as you can. That there are multiple planes each day, but they're not big, and they definitely can fill up. You know, if we've got 50 people, 24 going in, 24 coming out, plus the Darwin leaders, they will fill up. So let's get them booked as soon as we can. As across much of Brazil, English isn't actually that widely spoken. I don't speak Portuguese, I speak Spanish. If any of you guys speak Spanish, you can generally get by probably better than in English. Although Fernando de Noronha is better than most other parts of Brazil in this respect. So yeah, just bear that in mind. English isn't the most widely spoken language there, and yeah, you're generally okay, but just bear that in mind. There are 2 taxes which you can pay when you arrive. So you don't need to do anything in advance. You can literally just arrive and sort these out when you get there. There's a daily tax. They tax every tourist that comes here. About just over 17 euros a day. And there's also a voluntary national park fee if you want to go into the national parks. From memory, about 60% of the entire island group is conserved areas, which is fantastic. But in order to access those areas, you have to pay 359 reales, which is about 67 euros. But that's good for 10 days. So if you're staying on the island for longer, then if you're just arriving and flying out, then or vice versa, you don't need to do this one. But if you're spending a few days, you'd be crazy not to. All the amazing beaches, all the wonderful wildlife is actually in those parks. So it's really recommend doing it. Just to be clear, you can definitely do this on arrival. I did it myself on arrival just a couple of weeks ago when I went there. Yeah, so that's nice and easy. With regards to those arriving on leg 3, it's a little bit complicated because the anchorage is Puerto de Santo Antonio in the north. You can pay in cash, but I'm guessing most people are not going to have reales in cash. But I found out they absolutely will accept cards. We'll have to go to the airport though, which is about 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away. But you don't need to put in reales. You can definitely pay by card. Again, I did this myself. I checked it out. You definitely, obviously, need your passport, obviously, to arrive. But the team there, the authorities there, really recommend you bring a photocopy. I mean, this applies to all of the legs, really, but bring a photocopy of your passport as well. They recommend doing that. If you're staying on the island itself for any length of time, a day or more, you kind of really do need transportation. It's not a big island, but to get around, you can hire buggies, like little quad bike type vehicles. They're relatively cheap. Or you can rent cars, something like about 70 US a day, something like that. And say myself and my colleague Chuck went there to set up all the projects. And this was absolutely essential. It would waste so much time without this. So do bear that in mind. I've got a list of car operators. I'll send this around so you've got it. In terms of hotels, if you're staying on the island, there aren't that many options. There's probably about 15 to 20 on the islands, and they're not cheap by Brazilian standards. They're $100 to $200 a night, so they're not cheap hotels. And again, like the flights, we are going in peak season, so definitely book ahead. I went to a few of the hotels and spoke to them, explained that we're bringing, large groups of people coming in and coming out. And a few of them did actually indicate they'd offer group discounts. So if people want that, I can liaise with those hotels and get them organized, and we can try and negotiate group discounts. It'd probably only be 10 or 15% anyway, so maybe it's not worth it, I don't know. But if you are, email me at info@darwin200.com and we can look into that and get that moving if enough people want to do it. I will just quickly say there's amazing diving. I went to 3 dive operators to set up some of the activities we need for Darwin200. There's really professional, really well run dive operations. So if you like diving and want to dive, yeah, you've definitely got several options. Again, I'll put this information together with the links to the companies that I went to, and you can check them out. And if you want to do it, many of the hotels are sort of family-run small lodge styles with 5 to 10 rooms. The one I stayed at was called Moana. And yeah, they're just really nice little places with really comfortable rooms. There are some bigger options as well, but personally, I think these ones are really nice and intimate and personal. So I hope that's addressed all of the questions we had last month concerning Fernando de Noronha. Again, if people are interested, I can gladly prepare a little talk similar to what Rolf kindly did concerning Cape Verde. I can gladly do that for the Brazilian ports if you would like to hear what we're up to, what we're planning there. So I hope that gives an overview of Fernando and the entrance requirements. And if there's any questions, I've got to be more than happy to help answer. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stu.
Pleasure.
Well, as always, we will now answer the questions. I saw Els raise her hand during Stu's presentation. Would you like to ask your question? And otherwise, we will start with a question in the chat and then come to the questions we received per email. Let me see.
Scott asked about visas. So sorry, I should have addressed that. So there is no visa requirement within Brazil to go to Fernando de Noronha. You have to check your own nationality, whether or not you need a visa to go to Brazil. For many years, Brazil had a reciprocal policy for Australians and Americans. I understand that's been dropped in the last year. Please check it. It is your responsibility to check. British passports and EU passports, my understanding is, don't require a visa. And I believe it's recently changed for Americans and Australians that had this reciprocal arrangement. They did previously have to get visas, definitely. But my understanding that hasn't recently changed. But obviously I'm not an American or Australian, so I didn't enter with those passports. So please check that. It is your responsibility to get a visa if you need one. Yeah, there's no requirement once you're in Brazil in order to go to Fernando. That helps that question.
All right. Bernard asked if there will be also an opportunity before or after the send-off parties, both in Rotterdam and in Plymouth, to visit the ship. Yes, that will be possible. Erland asked which legs we think that will be most challenging in regards to storms. Gerben, I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, that's okay. I first want to say something about 2 things. Stu asked for this, answered for the visa requirements. For Cape Verde, there are visa requirements, but actually it is a kind of a tourist tax. If you arrive on the island without it, you just have to pay it at a little desk specifically for it. So, but it is wise to see if the same rules apply to you, because I'm from the Netherlands, Stu is from England. But if you're from another country, they may have other rules for you. So always, please check. About visiting the ship after the party or before the party, I would say before the party is better. Because if the party ends, as Stu pointed out, the ship will be leaving next morning. The people that have booked that specific leg will be on board. They meet each other for the first time. They need the time also to prepare for the voyage the next morning. So yes, of course, you may be visiting the ship, but do it maybe just before the party, and do it quickly. Because if we have, let's say, 100 people that all think, but I'm only 20 minutes, then we have 100 times 20 minutes. And that's a lot of attention to give on board. Having said that, what was the question about storms again?
Which legs you think that will be most challenging in regard to storms?
You can't really say that, because you can have storms anywhere on the ocean, anywhere on the sea. But of course, there are some areas where the weather is notoriously bad. That doesn't mean that's always bad, but then the chance of hitting a storm is bigger. Of course, on the southern oceans, the weather is rapidly changing. So typically you get every so many days you get a low, a depression coming over you, which is good because we're sailing from west to east. A depression normally brings westerly winds also there, and so we have following winds and seas. But of course, if the wind is force 9 or 10, it's not so nice. So you would try to avoid the worst of the weather. If we start at the beginning, I would say that the whole voyage down to Montevideo is actually a voyage where we can expect good weather. To start with, in Plymouth, it's summertime. It's the best time of year. Doesn't mean that it can't rain. Stu pointed that out. I mean, it is England after all, and we can have a depression, and we can have, let's say, a summer storm. But in summer, storms are often not that heavy. They are not that lengthy. And as the temperature is better, they don't feel that bad. I mean, the same storm in winter feels worse than the one in summer. Going down to Tenerife, the weather is usually quite nice. But having said that, for example, Biscay has a name for storms, but that's in the autumn in spring, early spring and autumn, not in summer. But you never know, of course. Sailing from Tenerife to Cape Verde is almost always good weather. That's really a pleasant trip, downwind, nice weather, big waves following seas. Same from Cape Verde to Fernando. This is a really nice trip, but we will cross the equator there. The equator is known for the special weather effects. There's no wind at all, but there are also huge thunderstorms developing. This is the area where tropical storms are born. When they're just born, they're still nice, but if you have to rain over, I mean, it can rain there so densely that you can't see each other on, let's say, if you were sitting on one side on the table to the other, you can't see each other anymore. So much rain is falling in just a few minutes. And with thunderstorms, also sudden wind shifts, microbursts, stuff like that can happen. So you can't really say which is the worst place, because you can sail for weeks in the Southern Ocean and having strong winds, but good winds, good weather for sailing. And you can sit here in Europe and having a nasty summer storm. So what leg have you booked actually? What leg are you? Who asked the question?
Erland, I asked him to unmute.
Oh, sorry. I don't hear.
No, it's from to the Galapagos Islands. So
from the mainland to the Galapagos. Well, that area is actually famous for the very, very light winds. Still, you can have some, but the storm is extremely unlikely there. Extremely unlikely for that passage.
And before I go to Jeff, who raised his hand, there's a question from Gijs, which is quite similar to this one. Do you expect El Nino to have impact on the Pacific legs, like rougher seas or contrary winds?
El Nino will have an effect because El Nino influenced the weather all around the globe, almost. But El Nino is a natural process. We get so many years of El Niña or La Niña, and then so many years of El Nino. That is not normal. We are in the change now, and they say that El Nino is coming up. It is changing now from La Niña year to El Nino. What we can expect is that on the west coast of South America, that it will be more humid, will be more rain. That's possible. There is no effect, let's say statistically known for storms or bad weather or other kind of winds in the Pacific.
All right, thank you. Geoff, you raised your hand.
Yeah, just a quickie. I posted just now about what time is boarding, and Elvira said 5 p.m., but Kevin kind of suggested it was early morning.
It's 5 p.m.
Okay. And whilst I'm on, I also asked about a possibility of a Zoom for just more of a social Zoom for people who are joining on in Plymouth. Can I send a link for a possible hosting that?
Yes, if you send out the link, I can of course send it out to your fellow sailors. It might also be nice to put that in the community we have.
Yeah.
And see it might have to start up a little bit, but it would be a good place for each other to meet up there. But definitely, if you send me a link, we can send it out to everyone on the same leg, and you can meet up.
Okay, I look forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Carter, you asked when we will be sending out the embarkation details for each voyage. Elvira, that's something.
Sorry.
When we will send out the final joining instructions.
Yeah. We said to everyone that we would send it out 2 months in advance. That's quite a long time in advance. We usually now do it about 10 days, because then you have, of course, the most recent information. But we expect that we know 2 months in advance most important information. And it probably will be the berth, or at least where we will possibly be. So and also a link that if it won't be there, where you can find the ship, but also a phone number, so you can reach the ship on the day of arrival if anything happens, and that kind of stuff. So 2 months in advance is the short answer.
And do we have European adapters on board?
We don't have them, so bring them. So on board we have European 2-pin sockets. So if you don't have a European, bring an adapter. Yeah.
Carter, do you have a question? Should I ask you to unmute?
Hi. Yeah, I want to know about embarkation, but I'm assuming the captains, because I'm going to be on the boat for 3 legs. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming the captain will let me know each time where I'm supposed to be for the next voyage and one after that. Correct?
Yeah, probably if you are on the leg finishing, it will be the same place where you will embark again. And the times of embarkation are set, so they won't change. It will always be 5 p.m. local time embarkation, and this embarkation will be 9 a.m. In the morning local time.
Thank you.
Gijs also asked if there is a maximum to the volume every guest can bring, and if we could give an estimate. Gerben or Elvira, would like to answer that one?
I can answer that. Luckily, most people will. The flight, how you say, will judge for us. What you can take in a plane, you can usually also take on board. But it's true, space on board is limited. So if you look at that, normally you take 20 kilograms in a plane, and that is roughly what you can store in your cabin as well. And if you have special needs or something special, just let us know, send us a message or call us, and we will answer if it's possible or not. But basically everything you can bring in the plane for a normal holiday, you can also bring on board. But we ask you to bring that in soft bags, not in hard shell
suitcases.
Yeah. Then we have a question: if we will get a packing list before embarkation. Elvira?
Yeah. Well, what we you already have a lot of information that we sent to you in the confirmation email. There's a lot of documents in there, so maybe you can look back. It's a general information booklet, and it tells all about life on board, a little bit about the history of the ship, but also what to bring. So read that. If you have any additional questions, then send us an email. But I think if you read the information booklet, it will answer a lot of questions already. We also have that document in the community page, so you can also read it there, and on our website also.
Then it's good. Welcome back, Arjen. Arjen asked the question, how long will the crew be on board? How many weeks or months, in how many weeks or months will there be a change of crew members? And I think Arjen is referring to the professional crew working on board. So that's one for Elvira.
Well, the crew schedule, we usually work with 2.5 months on, and then 1.5 months off. So that is what we try to do also during this voyage. It's quite difficult because some places are just not that easy to get to. Maybe you have some experience already trying to find flights. So the periods might be a bit longer or shorter, but we try to stick to that amount of time because it's important to also have your rest and have another, I don't know, space to to get your energy back again. So that is the rule usually.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I can add, I don't know, do you hear me? No, okay.
Yeah.
What I can add to that is that the crew never changes at the same time. So in one port, 1 or 2 members will change, and the next port, 2 other ones will change. You will never have a complete crew renewed. That's not wise to do that on a ship.
Bernard asked if there will be a washing machine on board. Cuts down on packaging. Gerben.
Yeah, there is one washing machine on board. So it doesn't cut down on your packaging very much because this machine cannot work when the ship is rolling or heeling or whatever. So the moments that it is actually able to work, there will be also a lot of laundry from the ship itself, like tea towels, also your towels and stuff like that. So yes, we do specifically on longer voyages, we do try to make it available to everyone, but usually we appoint one of the crew members and say, okay, maybe we can collect some laundry from everybody and try to wash the most urgent things. So there's no laundrette on the corner, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it might be good to add that we will put everything in a dryer. So if you want, what I usually ask people who join us, bring enough clothes for 2 weeks. And of course, on the longer trips, we can do some laundry, but it will go into a dryer. So it make sure it's dryer proof, because otherwise it might be very small. And then it might be cold. I don't know.
Let's see, while we talked about the visa requirements.
Oh, I see another ad. If we can wash clothes in sinks, in toilets, and hang out to dry.
No.
We rather not. No.
I think we covered all questions in the chat. So I'll go to one we received per email from Scott. Scott, are you present as well? Perhaps you could ask them live. He asked the visa. Oh no, it's all answered. The first one is about the packaging list, and the other one's about the entry requirements for Fernando de Noronha. So
I see another question
one.
about a hotspot to hook up a laptop. Oh yeah, Bernard, you.
You reminded me. Does the ship have a hotspot where I can hook up my laptop? Elvira, Gerben?
I don't know what is a hotspot. You mean also Wi-Fi? Because that the answer, if we're not in, no, we don't have Wi-Fi on board. But Gerben has maybe a bit to add about that. That's something new that I'm not familiar with yet.
Well, yeah, it is not so easy to have a connection on the ship. So if you want to do that, then you need to have access to satellites. And nowadays, it seems everybody has it on his phone. But on a ship, that's not an easy thing. You need huge mirroring antennas to follow the satellites. It's extremely expensive. To give you an idea, we do have an Iridium connection to the costs are about $10 US per megabyte. So one picture of your grandchild may cost you $80. It is not as normal as usual on the ship. We do have, in the emergency, we do have this Iridium. So the people abroad can reach the ship, and you can reach the people abroad in case you really need to. We have a little new device being set up. It is also via Iridium satellites, and it is a kind of a messaging service. So everybody can use it. We will open it up for the whole complement for everybody on board. It's a slow connection, but you will be able to send text messages to the people that you want to send messages to and receive them back. So we will set that up for you, but it won't be a hotspot to hook up your laptop to, because there's nothing to hook up to be honest.
Thank you. Another one. What is the layout of the berths, the bunks, the cabins, and how are they allocated? Elvira?
Yeah, we have.
Please.
We have 3 4-person cabins and 6 2-person cabins, which makes up for 24 bunks on board. One cabin is reserved for Darwin200 crew. That's one of the 4-person cabins. And we don't mix genders. So ladies and gentlemen will be separated unless they are a couple or traveling together. How they will be allocated is mostly depending if someone had a special request. All bunks are a bit different, but all not very different in size or anything. But some people have been on the ship and they prefer to be, I don't know, sleeping, I don't know, in the middle of the ship or alongside, I'm not sure how to say that, alongside the ship and not sideways. So we note that down and we try to give everyone the bunk they would like, but in the end it's up to the captain. He decides if something needs to change or anything. So we will do our best to give everyone the best spot they want, but that's mainly how we do it. I don't know, Gerben, do you have anything to add on that?
No, it's an endless question, and as you say, one bunk is not better than the other. Some people have their personal wishes, and if we can fulfill them, we do it. If we can't, we can't. Simply like that. You're not on the ship to sleep, I hope, but you can sleep well. And during the day or during the hours you're on watch, you will make sure that you're tired enough to sleep well after. No, but joking. What I said, it's also by, I mean, the first booker has more choice than the last one. That's also a fact.
Another question from Bernard. Do you need to bring any medication against seasickness?
Yeah, if you are vulnerable to motion sickness, you often know that, because if you get seasick or motion sick in a bus or in a whatever, then you're quite likely to experience the same on board a ship, of course. So if you know that, then bring your own medication. Some people use pills; they work quite well. Some people have special plasters behind your ear. Other people wear some kind of bracelets. If you believe they work, they will. I would say my best advice is that, well, I told it before, I think there's only 1 or 2% of the people that is really should never go to sea because they're always sick. And that's not nice to be in a boat if you're that vulnerable. Most people, and then I talk about 85–90% of the people, they will have a little bit of seasickness maybe during the first 1 or 2 days, and then they are used to the motions of the ships, and then they feel good again. Sometimes people get seasick only in very rough conditions, and as soon as it's get a bit better, then they feel better again. But most people get used to it, and there is a few very lucky people that never get it. But well, they don't have to bring anything. We do have some pills on board, but as I just pointed out, we have to bring stuff for 2 years. Everything is limited, also that. So if you know you are vulnerable to it, please bring some. And during the voyage, you often see, once we're on the way, that people brought some pills, they didn't use them, and they leave them on board. And if they're good, we collect them, and they are there to hand out to others.
Elvira, you have something to add?
Yeah, for the person, I have office legs instead of sea legs. So the times that I went on board on Oosterschelde, my tip would be, if you think you will be seasick, take medication before you get seasick, so before you leave the quay, and then in a few days you don't need them anymore. But it's better to use them before you get seasick, not while you're seasick already, because they won't work that well. That was my personal experience and tip.
Is full weather gear required from on the first leg from Plymouth to Tenerife in the summer?
Well, foul weather gear from Tenerife to?
From Plymouth to Tenerife.
From Plymouth to Tenerife.
Well, foul weather gear, you don't need heavy weather gear. So you don't need the ocean musto complete arrangement, cost you thousands of dollars or pounds or euros, and you won't probably need it only for 1 day. No, but you should wear, and that's also in the brochure that Elvira pointed out, you should have wind and watertight coat and jacket. Because, well, you may expect some rain, and if you're on watch and you'll be soaking wet, you feel cold. So it should be a normal rain suit is enough. It's more than enough.
Thank you. Well, I think, given the time and as we have answered all questions, I would like to thank Stu, Gerben, and Rolf for the presentations, and thank you all for attending. Next month will be just a few days before the ship leaves Rotterdam. Just a few days, therefore, before Darwin 2. Sorry?
It's 2 months.
Oh, 2 months. Oh, you know. Well,
you're almost
nothing said about no. Next month we will just have a fun Q&A, as every month. And then it will only be 1 month and a few days before. No. Thank you all for attending. Good evening or enjoy the day. Wherever you are, and see you next month.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.